Hey, it's Andryanna here, and cue the memes because we are back, baby. We are back. We are effing back, and it's classic. And I am so happy to be here with you. It's been a 3 week hiatus from the podcast, and I've missed you. And I'm here to share. And I thought that we could spend a little bit of time catching up. I have some things that I've been sharing a little bit on social media, but to be honest, I've been a little bit evasive and I'm ready to just sit down and let it all out and kind of do a little bit of a catch up. But there will be some good takeaways because I do kind of want to talk about sort of the notion of our intuition and how you can either start and begin the journey of tapping into and listening to your intuition, as well as maybe continue that journey of understanding what those intuitive nudges are and really being able to trust them and trust yourself and have faith in all of the messages or the little notes or those gut feelings that are coming to us. So that is what this episode is all about. And I hope that after this, the example that I'm going to share, the intuitive nudge that I had that has brought us on this really interesting journey over the past few weeks. Like, I honestly, if you would have talked to me in July and said, in a month from now, this is what your life is going to be, I would have been like, there's no way. Like, there is no way. And so this is really cool because I did follow my own intuitive nudge. And it hasn't quite played out all the way. Like, we haven't quite seen how this is going to end for us and our family. But I will tell you that I am in this place of faith and trusting that it is all going to work out. And so I'm going to catch you up. I'm going to bring you up to speed so that when we do get this culmination and when all of this sort of light bulbs turn on, or we get that click, that aha moment where it all comes together, I can let you know and you can be like, okay, I'm ready. And I want to hear how this goes. So with all of this being said, let's just dive right in. Hey, I'm Andryanna Gonco, and this is the Juggle is Real podcast. As I share my ongoing journey from experiencing burnout to leading a more mindful and intentional life with better balance, I hope you feel seen, that you realize your worth, lighten your load, and prioritize your own needs. As we hear from leading experts and well-known faces in the wellness, entrepreneurship, education, and motherhood space, I hope you gain insights, proven practices, and learn actionable tools to help you enjoy the juggle of work, family, and everything in between with a little less stress and a lot more ease, joy, and fun. Most of all, I hope you find what you need to simplify, streamline, and supercharge your own journey of better balance and self-love. Are you with me? Let's get started. This episode of The Juggle is Real is sponsored by Johnson's. Now, we still have a few glorious, beautiful weeks of summer left to squeeze in, and you may have some travel still planned or some last minute ideas. And while I say that being flexible while traveling is great, it is equally important to have freedom within form, especially when you're on the road with kids. And this means incorporating some structure and having boundaries or guidelines. My number one mom hack to take the stress out of summer travel is to maintain a bedtime routine. Something as simple as bringing a familiar blanket or bath time products can help keep some form within the freedom of family travel. Johnson's has been trusted by parents for the past 125 years with its naturally derived and science-backed ingredients. I love their online ingredient transparency tool and all of the research that is put into making sure baby products are gentle but do the job. Bringing Johnson's head-to-toe wash, lotion, or on-the-go washcloths are perfect for family travel. And take it from my personal lived experience. The rate of tantrums, meltdowns goes down substantially when my kids have some good routine and a good night's sleep. You can find Johnson's bath time products at your local retailer or visit johnsonsbaby.ca to learn more. Create structure and gain peace of mind at home and while on the go. Now let's get back to the show. All right. Okay, let us get right into it. Okay. I will spare no detail, and I really just want to share and hopefully give you some takeaways in I don't know, just trusting and knowing that what is right for you will come to you in one way or another. So, what I have sort of been like randomly posting about here, there, and everywhere is that I've been like more busy and more tired, and there's been a lot more on my plate recently than there has been pretty much all summer. And the reason for that, the reason why we've sort of been living out of suitcases and doing so much extra is because we are moving, kind of, sort of, maybe. Like we might be moving. Our house is currently for sale. And so I'm going to share the story of how sort of this intuitive nudge that I got. But this process since the beginning of August has been, it's been pretty extra, and for those of you who have gone through it, for those of you who have moved or have put your house up for sale with children, I mean, you know what I'm talking about, but this whole process is a lot. There's a lot of extra things that you have to do, from just contacting banks and financing and sending all sorts of documents and finding out all these details that like you don't know just off the top of your head. So you got to do some digging. And so there's a lot of like mental load. There's a lot of physical labor because let me tell you, to get my house to a saleable condition, there was a process of decluttering, and it was a process. When we moved into the house that we're in now 10 years ago. Our mortgage is actually coming up in September. And so a decade, we have been living here for a decade. And Ryan and I moved in. We found this house shortly after getting married. And I remember we were living where we were living before our first house. I would say to people like, I would love once we got married, to find a house that we could just settle down in and you know, plant some roots and grow and start a family. And I was saying this to other people, but I was saying this to myself. And we had been looking for another house for a little while, but I kid you not, like the house that we found that we're living in now, it was days. I'm telling you, days. We went for a little mini moon for a sort of I think 3 nights or something after our wedding, because our honeymoon wasn't until the following winter. But we got married in July. We had this little mini moon, and days after our wedding, we got home from our mini moon, and this house that we are in now came up on the market. And so we booked a showing right away, and we put an offer in right away, and we knew that this was the house for us. And so basically, the last 10 years have been starting and having a family, and all of the things that you need for that. Right? Like I've basically just been birthing babies and growing children. And my oldest is turning 9 in November. So we've basically spent the last decade doing that. And because we have a toddler, all of the things that have trickled down from my almost 9-year-old to my almost 7-year-old, now to my toddler, like we've kept so much stuff, and all the toys in between that the older ones don't play with, we've been keeping for the younger, and the clothes and the bikes and everything. Right. So it's like this process, not to mention like just our own things. And I'm not going to, not going to say it, but like Ryan, like he has more clothes than I'd say all of us combined. So the process, like it's been a process of decluttering and really just recognizing, like, is this something that we really do need, or can we donate it? Can we give it to another family? Or have we just been holding on to things that literally no one wants, no one needs, and they just need to go to their final destination and be thrown out? So we had this like process. And you know one thing that I will say is that trying to keep a house clean, like, if you have children, like it is impossible. And so keeping a house clean with 3 kids, keeping a house clean with 3 boys, and a dog. I mean, I was just like, no, there's no way. Like, this is not happening. We are going to get our house to this point where it is saleable, and then we are out of here, folks. Like, sayonara, good luck to the agent because we're not staying here. So we literally packed up suitcases and we moved in with our in-laws. We spent some time at my parents' house and we were literally just living out of suitcases. And that I will say is tricky, especially when there's kind of no end in sight and, everyone's kind of thrown off their routine. And, you know, we kind of sort of had to weigh the pros and the cons of like, okay, there's a clean house, but there's also a family who needs to live in their house, and maybe we're overstaying our welcome with our in-laws, who are, let me just say, the most incredible people. Like, I've talked about it before, but they're just the most generous, helpful, energetic people, and I am so grateful, and I'm so happy that we have them, and we're close by, and they opened up their doors for us. But after about a week of doing that, we decided that we are going to come back home, and we have been home for almost a week now too, and our house is still up for sale. This market is, sort of up in the air, and we're not quite sure what's going on. We haven't had any offers to actually, finalize the deal for something that we would want to accept. And so we're just sort of in this limbo place. And the good side of it is that we are at home, so everyone's comfortable. I'm doing my best. We're doing our best to keep things clean and tidy, and I've really been leaning on the kids to be extra cautious. So we have some new rules, like no randomly eating food everywhere about the house, or things that maybe I should have implemented a long time ago and just haven't. So like taking off your shoes in the garage instead of making a big mess in the front entrance. But we're here and we're all doing well, and we're in this limbo place. But I guess this is where like the faith and the trusting comes into place. And so I'll tell you sort of this story of what brought us here, which is just, I think it's just really fascinating and super interesting because we we have been really happy in this house, and we have had no we've always said, like, if there's another house, there's certain things that I think you always want to change, or you might be looking for. And so we've kind of kept an eye out, but it's not like we were actively looking or actively pursuing. And at the very end of June, my husband saw this listing come up, and it was on the water. And so he sent me this listing, and I was like, oh yeah, good one. Hilarious, because it was a, no joke, 2-bedroom house on a very, very small piece of property. Like, I don't even think there's a real driveway. It was like kind of like pull up kind of on the side of the road situation. And I was like, okay, well, like, obviously that's not feasible for 3 children and, a family that's growing. But he kind of pulled one of those, hey kids, would you like to live on the lake and go swimming? And then in the winter we can build an ice rink, and we can go ice fishing. And like, of course, when you say it like that, they were like, yeah, like, it sounds awesome. And he's like, hey, let's get in the car, let's go take a look. Meanwhile, like, he didn't mention like the whole part of like, I don't know, somehow 3 kids would have to fit in a tiny room that's kind of like an attic, and there'd be no like playroom, there's no rec room. Anyway, so we pull up to this house. But the interesting thing is that I had never been to this part of the city that we live in. And I knew sort of the area, but I had never turned down off the main road to see what was beyond it. And so when we did turn down, I was kind of surprised. Like, I knew that this house, there's like no chance in a million years that I was even going to entertain the idea. But I got in the car and we turned down this street, and there's a few other streets that connect, and I was just like really surprised because there's a lot more back in that area compared to what I thought. And so I was like, oh, this is interesting. And there's a lot of really beautiful properties and some really nice houses. And I was just surprised by that. Of course, the 2-bedroom on the postage stamp lot was not for us. And, we moved into July and we had holidays and we were away with family, and we are just enjoying our summer and making the most of it. And then at the very end of July, I hadn't thought of that house. Like it hadn't even like come across my mind because it wasn't for us, right? I was heading to, and I think the date was like July 29th or July 30th. And I was heading to a physio appointment. And I go on Fridays. And so I'm driving. It's a road that I take all the time. I go to physio and I go to do these workouts every week. And I'm driving by. And on this particular day, I got this little nudge, this little voice in my head that just said, like, turn down here. And of course, like I checked the time and I'm not going to turn down there because I was going to be late for physio and I didn't want to be late. I was rushing to get there. And so I kind of forget about it. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And I don't listen. I keep going. I have my appointment, completely forget about this little voice. Have my appointment and I leave. I'm driving home. And at the exact same part, the exact same place, this little voice comes back and I'm like, you should just turn down, just go down this road and just check it out. And so I checked the clock again, and my family wasn't expecting me, like we weren't rushing somewhere else. So I'm like, okay, turning signal, take a right hand turn, go down this road, and I see this house that was for sale, but it's sold. So I think, oh, that's cool, that's interesting. Keep going down the street, and lo and behold, there is a for sale sign up in front of another property on the water. And so this time I pull over, and I'm pulling up Realtor, right? I'm getting the MLS going. I want to check it out, but I can't find it on Realtor. So I take a look, and the for sale sign is with an agent that actually my husband knows. So try calling my husband, doesn't answer. So I take a photo of this house with the for sale sign, and I say, call the agent and see what's going on with this house. Like, is it already sold? Like, why is it not on Realtor? So he calls and he speaks to the brother of the listing agent, who is also a friend, who says, oh, like that house, like it's just went up for sale. Like it must not even be on Realtor yet because it's brand new, a brand new listing. And I'm sort of in the area. I can be there in an hour. If you want, I can have you take a look. And so Ryan says, sure, like why not? Our two older kids were with our nephews and our brother-in-law. Zach was napping. And so when he wakes up from his nap, we go and we take a look at this listing. And we pull into the driveway, and literally, like we've never been in this area before. And we pull up to this house, and Zachary, who's in the back seat, he points and he says, my house. And so I was like, oh, that's interesting. I said, oh, really? Like you knew nothing of it. No one knew anything of it. I had only learned about it an hour prior. So he points, he says, my house. Okay, whatever. So we go and we're walking the property, and it's an absolutely beautiful property. It is on the water and there's exceptional views. It's sort of like on a point. So you have these beautiful, almost panoramic views. And so Ryan and I are thinking like, okay, well, the property's nice, but this house, like, I mean, probably a shack. Like, it's not looking like super amazing. So we don't have our hopes up. We go in the house and we're like, it's not too bad. And of course, it is more of a fixer-upper. I'm going to give you that. But with a little bit of TLC and some love on our end, I think a vision could come to life. And so we're going through the house and we're walking through, and it's empty. There's only a couple pieces of furniture in the whole house, but there's like nothing in the cupboards, nothing, on any shelves or in any closets, nowhere. And then we go in the basement, and there is in the furnace room one box, nothing else but one box. And on the box, there is a Post-it note. And the Post-it note says, Ryan, 3 of 3. And again, I'm just like, huh, okay, well, that's your name, huh? And like, we've got 3 kids. Like, okay. So anyway, we fast forward a little bit. We did decide to put an offer on the house, and we do have an accepted offer, but it is conditional upon selling this house. And so this house is for sale right now. And as of this recording, we do not have this house sold. And so, like I said, there is no finalization of the plan. And so I can't, go out there and tell you like this intuitive nudge led me to this perfect new home. And this is, the perfect plan, and everything worked out. And, we all lived happily ever after. I can't go that far. But what I do know is that we are eventually going to find out, right? Like we're eventually going to look back on this. We're going to be able to connect the dots going backwards, right? There is going to be this bridge of incidents. And part of it is the story that I've already told you. Like if my husband hadn't had this weird and wacky idea to move out onto this 2-bedroom house on this tiny piece of property, I would never have seen this area of the city that I live in. And if it wasn't for following my intuition, I would never have seen this property. Now, is it meaning that this house is for us, or is something else going to happen that's going to lead us to something even better? That I don't know. But what I do know is that I was meant to find this house, whether it was just to find out something else, like, to like declutter, was it just like, here is a potential property and this is what you can have, but your house has to be ready to sell, so like declutter? And or was it just to like free fall in love with our own house? Because now that we've gone through this process of really cleaning and decluttering, we're like, oh my gosh, look how expansive and beautiful our house is. And we really have another and a deeper appreciation for the house that we're living. And so I know a lot of people say, like moving is terrible, moving is awful, and I would never do it. And I like just, it's the worst process. And I'm not saying it's easy. There's, and if we do actually end up moving, the whole packing and that process is going to be a lot too. But what I will say is that choosing your thoughts and choosing to believe that it is all going to work out, right, is just really what's fueling us right now. And so from the onset, like my husband and I were like, you know what, let's do this. Let's put an offer. Let's see what happens. If it's meant to be, it will work out. It will fall into place and it's going to align for us. And if it's not, that's okay too. And I think, like it helped us in, cleaning and decluttering and bringing loads to the dump and dropping off things for donating. It's helped us through this process because while we may not see the light at the end of the tunnel, we do know that everything is going to work out. And so I will just say that, in this process, if you are having strong feelings about something, good or bad, if you do have that gut feeling, if you do hear that little voice that's urging you to turn somewhere or do something or ask a question, maybe try just giving in and trusting it and seeing what happens. So the takeaways that I just want to give as we're in this limbo period is really just to celebrate those wins, to celebrate, our house isn't sold, but we have this, clean house. And like, that's a win in and of itself, and to look to the positives and to really just trust and really just know, especially when you're in the place of so much uncertainty, that it does work out in the end. And so, Steve Jobs is famous for saying that we cannot connect the dots looking forward, right? We can only connect them looking back. And so when you're in the place where you can't connect the dots just yet, having those affirmations or those mantras or just that deep knowing that everything's going to work out, I think that's what's going to help see you through. And so this is where this episode is going to take us and it's going to end. And I actually have my window open and someone's cutting the lawn outside. So I feel like this is a good ending point. So I can't wait to see you here for more episodes. I do have an incredible fall lineup. We did record some episodes back before school is out that I cannot wait to share with you. And I have some incredible guests lined up that I cannot wait to speak to. And I can't wait to share those. So definitely make sure that you are subscribed. If you can do me a favor and rate this episode, write me a short and sweet review. And please, maybe just share with one friend, someone who needs this message that it's safe and that it's okay to trust yourself. Send it to that one person. And until the next time, take good care.